When I experience an obstacle or challenge, I'm going to move past it. I'm going to shatter that glass ceiling and I'm going to keep going.
It hurts to smash a glass ceiling.
Wow, we literally have to be superheroes to walk through this life.
While I might have been the first, I pray that I'm not the last.
Morning.
Good morning. Hello, hello. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm great. I can't believe I'm in rainy Seattle and I'm loving it. It's just too hot in Arizona.
I'm in rainy Spokane and I'm loving it too. It's just like a blanket. It's like a cozy blanket, you know?
It is cozy. I get to wear warm clothes and all that stuff. So
yeah.
We have an exciting lineup to discuss, but also our guest, Mariah Cooley.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm excited for people to really know her.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think she's our youngest guest, right?
I think she's your youngest guest.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I am just so excited for people to just hear what a young woman on the move looks like and sounds like and how they think. So I think she's going to really be enthralling for our listeners, really.
Yeah, I totally agree. Let's talk a little bit about the podcast in general for those people who are brand new.
Okay.
The show. Yeah. So go ahead, please.
Oh, I was just going to say, I was just going to say, I'm really excited. I watch the statistics every day and I can't believe just how popular we are. Like everyone shares our mission. Everyone shares our mission. So I just love that people are joining in. So we are in 65 countries now, officially 65. We are still working on the United States and that North and South Dakota and Louisiana and West Virginia, they are our holdouts. Like, how can they not want to join in? Who has not shared with people in those states? How are they going to know about us unless our listeners share with them? So I'm hoping that someone listening today is going to say, hey, West Virginia, hey, Louisiana, these people are fabulous and they're on a mission. Give a platform for women to share their stories.
Yeah.
So
100%. We've been around for a year and a half and we just started doing the live streams. Janine, was it 10 live streams ago?
Women's International Day, March 8th.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
So it's been a lot of fun.
Kathy Allen's birthday. And she was our first guest, and that was amazing. But we started off in February of last year, and have dropped a audio-only podcast every other week up until early fall, and then we went every week. So I think we're right at around 38 of those. We are dropping Kathy Allen, so she was our first live stream guest, the audio from that interview as a podcast on this coming Thursday. And then at Taking Her Lead.
At Taking Her Lead. Yes.
Blueberry.net, BLUBRRY.net.
Which is changing, Janine. As you know, we are shifting over to our own primary website, which is takingherlead.com. And so viewers and listeners, take a look for that. That's coming out pretty soon. That's exciting. It's looking really sharp. Happy with what our editors are doing. And we edit podcasts for all of our transcripts and editing. They just do a phenomenal job. So a little shout out for them. And Janine, we have someone very special coming up after the Memorial Day holiday. So guys, we're not doing one Monday, but the following Monday, who do we have?
Yes, we have Liz Perpetua. She's a dear colleague of mine. She's a nurse. And I have to say that if people only knew what nursing could be, I think we have images of a certain way of nursing on television, and she is all of that kind of a nurse, taking care of sick patients, and she's actually a history of structural cardiac disease, which has made a lot of advancements over the time of her career. But now she is just an influencer. She just came out with a book, Cardiac Nursing, that she edited with all of her colleagues, and she's just a force to be reckoned with in the nursing profession, and she's young and on the move and still has a lot to offer in terms of the rest of her career, and who knows where it'll take her. And I think that being able to see a career expansively just from all the possibilities, she's tapped on them all, just from being a doctorate in nursing and teaching and writing and caring for patients, belovedly caring for patients and advocating for them, and being a great colleague to our physicians and pharmacists and allied health. I think she's just incredible, and she's been on a very personal journey. So we're going to get to hear it.
Yeah, that'll be fabulous. And today we have Mariah Cooley. So
Yes.
Mariah is, I'm just going to be honest, I saw a couple of articles that she wrote and posts that she had, and I thought, no, we need her. So I reached out, and she graciously accepted. We had a fabulous first Zoom call. So Mariah is the president of the Student Council at Howard University. And she's a fierce woman. She has been involved in fighting against gun violence and initiatives around that for quite a while. And has personal, has been in some ways personally affected and really has a big heart for that, and a big passion for that. She is going into civil rights law. And so she's going to, pardon my words, kick ass doing that, I'm certain. Very intelligent young woman. And then after that, she's looking at politics. And gosh, I hope so. I hope that someone like her gets in there,
Yeah.
So, we have... is there anything else we wanted to mention before we bring her on?
No, I think that's about it. We have our summer lineups already together too. So once we get that website exactly how we want it, we'll put a list of future guests, because I think you're going to hear from a female cardiac surgeon, and 7% of cardiac surgeons are women, and she's one of those 7%. So she's right out of Emory, and she's at the top of her field right now. And we're going to have Barbie the welder. I'm so excited about that too. How somebody is going to take their passion into art. And so we have so many incredible people coming up.
We do. Oh, and we have our first and second guests from the podcast from a year and a half ago.
Oh, yes, I know.
Live stream.
Yeah, those people that believed in you way early on that this was going to be successful. I can't wait to hear
Patricia
from
Littlejohn and Tina Bray. So she'll be on this show as well.
Yeah.
So
they're friends and colleagues, and so it'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be really fun. Okay, without further ado, let's bring on Mariah Cooley.
Hello.
Mariah.
Hi, Mariah.
How are you guys doing?
Great.
Good. We're excited to have you. Tell us a little bit about how your day is going.
My day's been going well. Went to Starbucks this morning, so I'm feeling good. It's a little gloomy here. It's a DC, but this weekend was really good.
So, big question. What's your drink?
I get a strawberry acai refresher with guava juice.
Wow. And I get, this morning I tried something new, which I hardly ever do. It's their chocolate almond, whatever. It's supposed to be made with almond milk, but I make it with coconut milk.
Dunkin' Donuts made at home.
Oh, okay. So we all have a different drink.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So Mariah, what have you, other than the coffee, which is very important, obviously, what have you been doing today? What's been on your schedule?
So, my friend just, he came to DC to come visit. So said bye to him this morning, dropped him off at the airport, got some Starbucks, and now I'm here. Then the rest of my day, I'm going to relax and take a little self-care Monday. I'm excited.
Yay! Self-care Monday. That's great. Tell us what you do for self-care. What are some of the things that you do to take care of yourself?
I like to work out, so I definitely try to work out every day, clean around the apartment because it's kind of a mess right now. And then, play some music, have my incense going, maybe watch some TV and just relax.
Mm-hmm. What's your workout of choice? Oh, go ahead. What's your workout of choice?
My workout of choice. I really do leg day a lot. That's what I've been focusing on, and then ab workouts and stuff. But I'm trying to incorporate cardio more.
Mm-hmm.
Aren't we all?
And then Josh wants to know your music.
I got to know your music.
I really like alternative music or R&B, soul, in that kind of era.
Yes. Who's a favorite R&B artist?
My favorite is this band called The Internet. They're kind of underground, but I love them. So that's my favorite.
I'm right there with you. I have a very dear friend who grew up with Mary J. Blige.
Oh, wow. That's
So, yeah. Anyway, well, hey, let's talk more about you and not just your day, but thanks for talking about how things are going today with you. and talk about what you're doing at school and in leadership and your internship. So kind of get us caught up on those pieces.
Yes. So I serve as president of the College of Arts and Sciences Student Council at Howard University. And then within the gun violence prevention movement, I really started my activism when I was in high school. I first participated in the national walkout in 2018 with March for Our Lives. Then when I got to Howard University, I realized Howard was the only school in DC that did not have a March for Our Lives chapter. I'm like, that's crazy because Black people are disproportionately affected by gun violence. So we need to be at the forefront of this movement. So with that, I co-founded and served as the legislative director within there. Then from there, within March for Our Lives, I worked my way up, and now I'll be spearheading a national HBCU campaign to get more March for Our Lives chapters at these HBCUs.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, you're busy.
Yeah.
So Mariah, I'm curious because I don't know how these things go. You wake up one day and you say, hey, I really want to do this. And how do you take it on? Like, who did you contact? How did you network? Like, you had to have done something, right? So tell me a little bit about that.
Honestly, I really started back in high school. I just saw that my history teachers, we weren't talking about current events as much as we should. And I thought, I'm 16 at the time. We're going to be voting in the next election. As you can see, it was very important for our generation to vote in the 2020 election. So at 16,
Mm-hmm.
I started a club after school called Current Events Club, where we could learn more and just discuss the controversial topics that, the public education system may not want to discuss. And from there, I really realized that my passion was for politics. And so getting to Howard, not knowing anyone in DC and realizing that I wanted to make change, I realized I had to be that change. So I just busted my butt. I did my research. I called people and figured out how can I get my foot into these doors because nobody was opening them. And from there, I just kind of skyrocketed.
That's fabulous.
That's great.
What does that process look like, especially with regard to the upcoming national initiative that you're leading?
Yeah, so obviously March for Our Lives, like what they're stereotypically known as is just fighting against mass shootings. But as March for Our Lives knows, that mass shootings only equate to 5% of all gun violence. It's the everyday community gun violence that needs to be talked about. And that's what the March for Our Lives chapters at these HBCUs is going to look like. So what I really want the vision for it to be is mobilizing those activists in their communities already and just giving them the resources and the tools needed to end gun violence in their communities. Obviously, in every district, that's going to look different. In predominantly white areas, it's going to look different on how they're addressing mass shootings rather than in these Black communities where they're going to address community-based gun violence and drug trafficking and things of that nature, and trying to instill in the children that there's a better life for them outside of, their hoods and things like that. So definitely every chapter is going to look different for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very interesting. What would you say? And I'm just I love this topic. I'm so passionate about this, but and this is tangential. We're going to come back. I just want your perspective on the functional operators that affect gun violence in Black communities. To talk, if you will, and this can be a little controversial, but I want to hear your thoughts. What drives that? What are some of the factors that drive that gun violence in Black communities?
Yeah, gun violence is something that's very intersectional that I feel like a lot of people don't really realize. It intersects with domestic violence and domestic abuse and, the boyfriend loophole and, women being beaten and killed by their ex-spouses. And that's how a lot of women die due to gun violence. It's the mental health and the suicides. And then, in these communities, it's the drug trafficking and the guns and being able to purchase guns and online and assemble them within 30 minutes and not have to register them or anything. And now you have these unmarked guns in these communities, and it's very easy to buy a gun that way. So it really, it's an economic issue. It costs America over $280 billion a year addressing the issue of gun violence. So it's really important that the administration, which they've done a good job of, maybe the last administration didn't, but it's really important that we address this issue because it's affecting all Americans, whether they've been directly affected by gun violence or not. And then obviously, social injustices and racism as well is a key factor to gun violence.
Yeah, It's very interesting. Thank you.
Mariah, I am part of a book club online called Literati, and the book that we're reading right now is Memorial Drive. Have you heard of it?
I have not.
Oh man, I think that it's something that you would just be, it's so well written, number one, but it's about a woman who is kind of narrating the murder of her mother through gun violence. And the whole racial component of that is really fascinating. So I hope if you get free time, you'll consider reading it. It's called Memorial Drive. It's just unbelievably written. It's literary. It's well done. So, I have the question that I always ask, and that is, how did your early childhood experiences bring you to this point today? Like, who are you from where you've been?
Yeah, so I grew up in a small town called Peoria, Illinois. There's about 110,000 of us. It's, very divided. It's either the white neighborhoods or the black ones. And then there's, some sort of middle ground. But within those black neighborhoods, we have food deserts. We have gun violence happening every day, shootings and things of that nature. And then, in the white communities, great access to education, great economic opportunities. And so that vast disparity really showed me how much I want to make the change for that, because luckily I was fortunate enough to go to the better education schools, but I saw, from my public high school, the difference between mine and then my friends who lived, a few miles too far, and now they're in the more quote unquote ghetto high school, and how they didn't have access to the resources I did. So that's really what fueled activism in the beginning. And then I experienced my first loss of gun violence, not directly, but there was a boy who died of gun violence when I was in 8th grade, and it was my best friend's really good friend, and they went to the same middle school together. I'm thinking, I'm 14, we're about to go off into high school. He was really good at basketball, he was really good at football, and he was a sweetheart. I had a chance to meet him a few times, and so it was just really heartbreaking to see that happen. And then from there, a few years later, I lost my cousin due to gun violence and just community-based gun violence. So from there, it really made me passionate and want to be that change. And I've always been passionate. I knew since I was a kid, I wanted to be a lawyer. As parents are like, oh, you're good at arguing, you'd be a great lawyer. And I kind of just took that and ran with it. Really passionate about it. And my first time realizing I wanted to get into law, and now it's focused more on politics rather than law, but obviously they intersect, was the Trayvon Martin case. I was around the same age as Trayvon Martin, and I just did not understand how him walking from a gas station to get Skittles and an Arizona tea resulted in him dying and the murderer not being prosecuted. So, yeah, I know I'm kind of rambling, but that's really who I was as a child and what fueled it.
That's not rambling at all. Yeah.
Mariah, I'm struck by how do you experience this as, I would say, at a very tender age? And we know we have choices in life to either be bitter about it or to find our energy to do something about it. And I'm wondering how you manage that sadness in the beginning, because obviously it's something that affects you, and generate energy from that. Can you talk a little bit about that journey?
Yeah, I feel like as Black people as a whole, that trauma is something, unfortunately, that we're used to. And as time goes on, as we get older, we become numb to. We see on TV our people being brutalized and killed every day, and then policies and things not going into place that will work towards ending it. Even with media representation, with TV shows and movies, it's always the single mom trope, or they grow up in the ghetto and they have to work their way out. We never just see regular Black people living regular life and just having those, we don't have any rom-com movies. We're starting to now, but as you think, those coming of age movies like Mean Girls, Legally Blonde, we don't have those. We don't get those. And so seeing those, it just makes you wonder, like, wow, I can't wait to see when those things will actually come to fruition. So it's sad, but that's, as Black people, something that we have to deal with, unfortunately, and it's okay for Black people to be bitter. They don't want to engage in it and work to be the change. Honestly, we don't have to, because we have our own struggles and we have to break those generational curses. And we're really not that far removed from, those systemic things as people like to think. But I've taken it and I decided I want to actively work towards ending it. But I definitely don't fault the people that just want to live their life, because they deserve that. And it's hard enough, honestly.
I have my dear friend that just before we started, I was talking about my friend who grew up with Mary J. Blige. She grew up in the hood, as she would put it, Yonkers in New York. And she said, chiming in exactly with what you're saying, that the media often portrays Black communities as very divided, very violent, backward in some ways. And she said, there's a lot of poverty, and lack of access to basic resources. She said, but the community itself is incredibly strong. She said, because there's no other way to survive than having a very, very tight-knit and strong community. Would you agree with that in your experience?
Absolutely. My community is really what mobilized me when I was back home. I just got done electing the first Black woman mayor of Peoria, Illinois, Dr. Rita Ali.
Yeah.
I served as the youth engagement and communications specialist, and it was all women campaign staff. And I was the youngest one, and I had 10 interns under me. And it's because of my community. My mentor, named Jahan Gordon Booth, who serves in the House of Representatives in Illinois, she mobilized me and she connected me because she sees that I'm going to be, one of the future leaders, not only of, Illinois, but hopefully of this country. So it's really that community that really invests in you more than any other resource, in my opinion. So without my community, nowhere. That's who I fight for, and that's who I want to invest in when I get older, is the kids who want to go off and do great things as well.
Yeah. Amen. Janine, you're up.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you had to define one pivotal moment. Was there one moment that you just woke up one day and said, this is the direction I'm going in? Is there one thing, there's one thought that kind of, they call them lollipop moments, where you heard someone speak or you experienced something and you thought, I could do that. And this is that moment where...
Yeah, so with my activism, it was really the Trayvon Martin case, which I talked on earlier. But in regards to getting involved politically, I always want to be a lawyer, as I said, but when I realized I wanted to be a politician was after Trump was elected. And I was like, okay, I need to get involved. I need to run for office. I don't know where to start, but I need to be an advocate for the people. And I think an elected official is the best way, that public service is the best way to really show your community that you care and do what you can to make the world a better place.
Right. It's amazing how current events can just really wake you up one day and say, okay, I found my direction.
Yeah.
Sounds like that happened for you. That's great.
Definitely. And that's why I got so involved with the 2020 election. I worked with the Biden-Harris campaign. I was just at the White House a few weeks ago, and I had the chance to see them in person when Biden announced his executive actions on common sense gun reform. So it's been a full circle moment from when I knew that I was working towards getting Trump out of office to actually being at the White House and seeing he's not there.
Yeah. You seem, Mariah, you seem like a big picture vision kind of a person. Would you say that?
Yeah, I'm definitely an optimist. I always look forward towards the future. I try to have my entire life planned out, but as I'm getting older, I'm realizing there's a lot of different avenues you can go to get to the same goal. So right now I'm just trying to follow my path and see, where God has that planned out for me, and try not to dictate it so much myself. But I'm really optimistic about it all because I know my passion, and that's gotten me here so far. So I'm just going to keep following my heart.
So you have to encounter conflict at some point. How would you say that your approach to conflict, or what have you learned about conflict and how you show up as a Black woman in conflict? Tell us more about that.
I experienced my first form of conflict. I interned in my congressman's office in high school, and he was a Republican, and I was the only Black person there, and there was one other woman, but she was out of the office because she was pregnant. So I was the only woman there too. And so obviously I have very liberal views, and I was in a not liberal place. And so with that, and not only did it teach me bipartisanship and listening to people from the other side and their opinions, but how to avoid conflict in those situations itself. I ended up getting threatening calls from people. As early as 16, 17, there was a boy at my high school who called me from a blocked number when I was advocating for the Black Lives Matter movement, and just called me racial slurs. And that was my first time hearing it. And then when I was hosting the protest in Peoria, Illinois, last summer, the biggest protest in Peoria, Illinois' history, I received threatening messages on social media and stuff as well. So sometimes overwhelming because I'm only 19, but I really don't like to focus on those things and just try to keep pushing, because obviously I'm doing something right. I'm making a lot of change, and obviously people are always going to agree with that. but I really don't like to focus on the negative. So it gets hard. So, and obviously my parents are worried that, these people are finding my social media, finding my phone number and calling and having these threatening things to say. And so, as a parent, you're going to want your daughter, your kid, like, go another avenue because this is getting dangerous. Like, people are dying in these protests, but then again, they know that this has been my passion ever since I was a kid, and they see, they want to empower me always.
Sure. Yeah, there's that wonderful dichotomy that happens between watching someone flourish, right, for the passion that they have and still being afraid for their safety. I can understand that as a parent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mariah, have you seen Just Mercy, Bryan Stevenson?
I have not yet. I've heard the movie is so good, but I want to read the book first. But Bryan Stevenson is a icon, a legend, someone I definitely look up to. So I'm going to add that to my watch list this summer. Maybe I'll do it myself today or later on tonight.
Yeah, both are phenomenal. I read the book first as well. Tearjerker, gutting. But when you talk about, there's a scene where he's leaving and his mom, who has supported him all his life, is questioning, because he graduated from Harvard Law, and she's like, you could go anywhere, you could do anything. Why are you doing this? And he said, Mom, this is my heart, essentially. And she supported him in that, although worried. So I'm sure your parents are in a similar place. So you feel a lot of support from your parents?
Yeah, absolutely. My mom, she's my best friend, and she has, taught me how to public speak, and she taught me how to be a leader and how to go after what I want. And, as Black women, we have to work 10 times harder to get to the same goal. So she definitely instilled that into me as a child.
May I ask what she does?
She's just in insurance, but the thing that's interesting about her is that, she had me at the age of 20. And so she had to put herself through college while raising me. So I really look up to her as my role model because she busted her butt to get me and provide a life for me that's fortunate enough where I can go follow my dreams, because unfortunately she didn't get to follow all of hers. And now she, obviously she can now since I'm off in college, but her main focus during her 20s was me.
Wow. That's fabulous.
Did you have any other role models and more recently in positions of influence? I mean, moms are really great. So I love that you have someone who shares her values with you to be able to do the work that you're doing. Is there someone that you want to give a shout out to in your school and your travels that have really inspired you?
Yeah, I kind of mentioned them earlier, but Dr. Rita Ali, the first Black mayor of Illinois, Peoria, Illinois, and then Representative Jahan Gordon Booth. Those are really two of my mentors who are elected officials and are mobilizing me to become an elected official as well, especially, after I graduate Howard University and then go off to law school. I know that I have a community back home that's ready to let me run for office.
So tell me a little bit more about them. What are some of their qualities and how did they make you feel?
Their passion is so strong and they work so hard. And obviously their work as legislators has made a life easier for me to go off and do the same thing because they are the first. And now I will be able to follow after them and follow in their footsteps and be everything and more that they see in me. I met Representative Jahan Gordon Booth when I was like 16 or 17 in high school. And when I met her, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is who I want to be. Like, this is right here who I want to be. So I went up and introduced myself to her. I was like, I would love if you can mentor me. And she saw a passion and a fight in me. And ever since then, she's been connecting me to the, best resources and qualities and opportunities to be where I am today and hopefully in my career at large.
Yeah. So she's connecting you. And how specifically is she mentoring you as far as coaching and teaching you interaction styles? How does that look?
It definitely looks like, when I'm going to certain meetings, how to present myself, like how to network, introducing myself to people, those leadership skills, those public speaking skills, what certain things to get involved in, and what certain things to stay away from. Another mentor of mine, his name is Alexis Kazam, and when I was learning how to public speak, he owned this shopping center in Peoria, Illinois, and we would go down to his coffee place, and literally just give speeches to the people while they're drinking their coffee, because I was a part of this program where I would go and have to propose like business ideas and things of that nature. But that really put me in an uncomfortable place, but I needed it to happen because now I know I can go speak anywhere and speak in front of thousands of people, which I've done before. But because of that small little coffee shop of 30 people where I felt that taught me that I needed to go out and I needed to work on it. And so definitely a shout out to him as well.
Well, you start somewhere, right? And everyone thinks you have to start big, but everyone knows that the successful people, there were incremental steps along the way. One of the things I'm struck by your story is the confidence to just be able to go up and introduce yourself. Just one simple gesture like that is to say, if I want to be like this person, they have to know me. And I find that bold and fierce and gritty and good for you. And on the inside, I'm applauding for you because it's the introduction, right? It's the first step that everybody always struggles with. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. My mom always said closed mouths don't get fed. So if I want something, I gotta go get it. And that's literally the motto we always go by. If I want to go after something, or it started off if I wanted to go eat somewhere, my mom was like, well, closed mouths don't get fed. And so if I wanted to have this person as my mentor, I needed to take that first step and introduce myself. So definitely something I encourage everyone to do. It can be uncomfortable at first, but it's always worked out for benefit.
Praise God for your mom.
Yeah, I was just thinking, your mom, I love her. I want her to be my friend.
we want her on the podcast now.
Yes.
I'm sure.
We're going to have a mother-daughter show, and I think you guys need to be here.
Oh, that's so cute.
So.
Yeah.
So how has your approach to resistance changed over time? You have to have, you can't be a Black woman in politics and not think you're going to rise against resistance, right? Yeah. What are the little strategies? What are the things you tell yourself, when your head's on your pillow at night to get you through that?
Definitely. I like to kill them with kindness and just remain headstrong in what I'm passionate about. I feel like the Black women in politics, you can be told that some things may be not achievable, or you have to appeal to a certain crowd or look a certain way. With your natural hair, you may want to straighten it or things like that. And I just know that that's something that I'm unwilling to do. And I'm going to be proudly Black in whatever movement and whatever space that I'm in, and keeping that headstrong. And obviously, as Black women, we have to work 10 times harder. So just still continuing to go hard and get our seat at the table, because sometimes the doors don't always open. So, as I mentioned earlier with March for Our Lives in DC, Black people weren't involved in that movement until I opened that door, and I was like, we're here now, and we're not going nowhere.
Because we've arrived.
Yes. So definitely meeting that resistance and never stopping, really. I don't want it to discourage me at all.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Have you ever doubted yourself?
Yeah, I feel like everybody has their doubts. Or sometimes, especially within this past year, I feel like everything has gone so fast and everything's moving so fast. I'm like, whoa, like a year ago, I did not think any of this would be happening. Obviously being in a pandemic, and then within that pandemic, hosting protests, doing national campaigns, working on the presidential campaign. Those are things I did not expect at all. I was just a freshman. I didn't even get to finish my freshman year on campus at Howard. So it's like I didn't get a full freshman year. I went back home, pandemic happened, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and more were dying. I was like, I got to get up and I got to do something. And at this point, I was only 18. I'm just an adult. I haven't even voted yet. So it was definitely a lot and pressuring. And obviously being the youngest one in these movements, older leaders will kind of not want to listen to you. And that's when you start your own movement. And so me and a group of young adults started an organization called Young Revolution. And that's who hosted the protest. And I was able to kind of spearhead that with them.
So I would say that not only public speaking skills, but you must have some sort of writing skills, critical thinking, pulling things together. If you want to create a movement like that where people are behind you, how do you do that? Tell me a little bit more about your thought process and the skills that you need to do that, because there are people who are going to listen to you and say, I want to be Mariah, right? That's going to happen. So what is it behind the scenes? What skills do you think people need to do what you're doing?
Organization is the key, and obviously leadership skills, but being a good leader is not necessarily always the one at the forefront of the movement. It's the person who can take a step back and be a team player and do the work behind the scenes that's needed. Before I got to these head positions, like for example, within March for Our Lives, I was just on their lobbying collective where I would go talk to congressmen and women about common sense gun reform before I became a team leader, but they saw that passion, that drive, and working hard behind the scenes in me, or bringing new legislation to the table that we should, co-sponsor and things like that to the table. So definitely stay organized as well. I have like 3 to 4 different calendars. And then I always do goal setting. One of my things my mentors taught me at Howard is to kind of write out where you want to be in a year and write those affirmations down. Like this time next year, I'm going to be this, that, and the third. And then, you try to cross it off as you go along. And if things don't work out how you want them to, that's okay. You add a new goal and realize, well, maybe this path didn't work out for me, but this happened. So I'm also equally as happy about that, because I feel like God has a plan for everyone. So just trying to follow in your truth.
Wow.
I'm inspired. You just keep talking.
I love that you love R&B, because you're an old soul in there. There's like so much wisdom in what you're saying, right? And half the battle is staying organized and organizing your thinking. And being able to be flexible on the path. And it seems like you've gotten that mastered. So good for you.
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah. Sometimes it can get hard, but you just got to keep on pushing and realize everything happens for a reason. I don't like to dwell on the negatives. As y'all can tell, I'm a very happy person as a whole. So, but obviously life isn't perfect. My life isn't perfect. I've definitely gone through struggles, but I choose just to focus on, the future.
What would you say is one of the hardest things you've ever gone through?
I would definitely say growing up, with like my parents and stuff, and there is a custody case between my mom and dad, and I've lived, as I'm gonna tell, my mom's my best friend, and I've lived with my mom all my life, so that was definitely a struggle. Going through that and seeing her struggle through that, but obviously I stayed with my mom, and I love her so much, and I love my dad too, but I just would have rather stayed with my mom because that's where I had been all my life. So that was definitely a struggle as well. And then around the same time, my step grandpa was dying of cancer, so it was just a lot at once. And then, with Trayvon Martin case too was around that time, so it was just like, woo, everything's coming. And right now I'm only like 11, 12 years old at this time as well. So it was a lot, but we persevere, we push through, and obviously things are a lot more peaceful now. And my grandpa is living in heaven looking down on me. So.
Rooting, cheering for you.
Very proud of you.
I know, you'd be so proud.
Yeah. So you're still remote at Howard right now, correct?
Yes, unfortunately, but we'll be back in August.
Okay. Excellent. Well, it'll be a whirlwind, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Where do you want to go to law school?
I really want to go to Harvard. I'm looking right now. My top 5 are like Harvard, Georgetown, Yale, those sort of schools. So I'm going to start studying for the LSAT on June 1st, because the goal is to take it for the first time in January. So it's going to be a trialing journey. I didn't have that much fun doing the ACT and SAT in high school, and I'm not the biggest fan of standardized testing. We don't click well. So I'm trying to start earlier this time.
Yeah, it's all strategy, right? The more it doesn't click, the more you just strategize.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, going to those schools will be an awesome education, of course, in the the functions of the position, but also the connections will be amazing for you, and I'm really hopeful for that. Yeah. What's the if you had to say, this is how high I want to go in politics, what would you say?
The president.
Janine, I want to hear from Mariah.
I don't know as of right now if I would go all the way to president or vice president. I feel like, I'm only 19. I got some years to figure out how far I want to go. But I definitely, as of right now, my goal would be governor of Illinois, or not even necessarily Illinois, but wherever I decide to plant my feet in once I'm done with school.
Yeah.
But that's how high I was go. But honestly, I'd be happy just as a regular city council member. Whatever I can get into with public service, I'm always going to be in public service for the rest of my life. I know that for a fact, even if that's just working as a staffer and assistant to a congressperson. So wherever God may have planned for me.
Fabulous. Oh, we missed that last part. Mariah, can you, Nick, well, I can't do this. Mariah, you're breaking up just a little bit, and I may want to have you pop out and pop back in again real quick.
Okay.
So I will let you know. It's clearing up a little bit right now. I just want to give you a heads up. Yeah, we want it to be clear for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. Frozen there for a second.
Yeah.
Why don't you do that, Mariah? Pop out and pop right back in again.
Yes.
There we go.
Oh, I love her energy.
Oh my goodness. The
Yeah.
positive outlook is just phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I've gone through struggles sometimes. Oh, there we go. There we go. Yeah. Way better.
Yes.
Yeah. We were just starting to talk about you. We'll do more.
Yeah. And we'll talk about you long after you're gone too. All good.
Yeah. All good. All good.
So I'm curious, what have you read? What does somebody like a 19-year-old who's president of their student council at Howard University read? What have you read in the past that has really inspired you, changed you? What do you listen to? Like, tell me a little bit more about that.
To be honest with you guys, I don't read as much as I should. Obviously, at Howard University, we read a lot of Black authors and like people of that nature, like James Baldwin. But I do a lot of research myself, and that's something that I pride myself on. I may not necessarily grab a book from Barnes and Noble and read, but I will Google people and look at their past and see, okay, what do you do? And, you know, as early as the early access part on Wikipedia can go, where did you start? How did you get there? And obviously you see with political figures, they start off as interns and they start off, you know, at these, you know, schools, and they work their way up and they work their way up. And that's, you know, the path that I want to follow. So I've definitely researched that. And then obviously I'm a key advocate on intersectionality. So researching people like Kimberly Crenshaw is something I was taught at Howard University, and Howard just gives such a quality education to books and resources and conversations that I really haven't had to venture out of it because they've empowered me and put so much wisdom into me. And obviously the deep, deep history of Howard University. Obviously our Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, attended with the same major as me, is definitely empowering as well.
Yeah. How old is Howard?
Howard was started in 1867. So
it was one of the first, wasn't it? Yeah. So I thought. Yeah, that's fabulous.
Lots of deep, deep history within my institute. Yeah, I love it so much.
And they've stayed so loyal to their mission. And I just, what a place, right?
Yes.
It's an honor to be there.
Yeah, there's no place. It's been my dream school ever since I was 13. I discovered what HBCU was. And by then, I was like, at that point, I knew I wanted to get in politics. And like, DC is the perfect place. I'm going to be surrounded by people who looks like me and have that same passion and fight for, you know, whether they want to be a doctor, whether they want to be a lawyer, wherever they may want to go, they all have that passion. So I love my school. I couldn't be more happy.
Yeah. I have a lot of friends who shifted from line level work, so working directly with people, you know, on the ground, to this broader. And we've had some guests who are just like this. Sandy Gibson, Jeannie, if you remember, who really shift to this. They have the capacity for vision and broader thinking, and get to a point where they think policy really impacts people. You know, day to day has a major impact on people. And if you can move to a point politically or even grassroots to where you're affecting that policy, it's very, very impactful. Is that fueling part of your desire to get into politics?
Absolutely, because I've been on the grassroots organizing, the local on the ground, just talking to people about what they want to see changed. And now I'm kind of transitioning to the more policy-based areas. And I've always thought policy is the best solution to make changes you know, after I'm far long gone, and, you know, everyone else is too. We still have those policies in place where these situations, these stories that I've heard from people on the ground don't happen again, hopefully, because of these policies and, you know, providing assistance to those in need. So I 100,000% agree. And that's quite literally the reason I want to run for office myself, because I think that's the best way to make a lasting change.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So Mariah, I love your passion and your intensity. Like, you have an intensity about you. So I'm kind of curious, what do you do for fun? What do you do when Kickback Mariah is just like, you know what? This is my fun. This is my fun zone.
Interesting, actually, because I feel like my roommates, they're my best friends. They know me. Obviously, on a different level, they live with me. They get to see Mariah just watching TV and engaging in reality TV, or just dancing around listening to music, or going out on weekends, obviously being aware of COVID. And, now we're all fully vaccinated. So being cognizant of that, of course. But I definitely like to go out and have fun, go out to restaurants and get good food with my friends. Or have a small little get together. So I'm definitely still 19 and a college student.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lose sight of that. I think a lot of people my age, like, they feel like they have to do one. They either, solely career focused, or they're the party girl. But I think there's a balance in both that everyone needs to do.
You can't do great work. You can't, at whatever level, if you're not caring for yourself and experiencing life around you. So yay you. That's
Work
very
hard,
wise.
play harder.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Well, so this has flown, and I think we could talk to you all day long, but you have things coming up. I want to be respectful of your time, because you have a very demanding schedule. So I want to,
today's self-care day.
Today is self-care day for you. So when I want to ask a final question, and it is always our final question, what would you say you're most hopeful about? And I'm going to be very specific with this, with regard to women in political leadership.
Yeah, I'm very hopeful. As you can see, we have our vice president as a woman and a person of color. So it just makes me excited that, now I can see that it can be done. I don't have to be the first, and I'm going to continue to, break that male overrepresentation in government and start to be the Black women in politics and leadership, and being the change that I want to see. And hopefully, little Black girls, Black boys, and just people in general come into office and feel like they can come into office after me. So I'm really excited. I'm really hopeful. I'll hopefully be able to check in about 20 years and hopefully be in a position of power where I can really see my dreams come to life.
We'll have you back on. We will absolutely.
So, you know what? There's one question we skipped that I just have to know.
Yeah, go for it, Jeannie.
Is if you were looking at your 6-year-old, 7-year-old self, and you were going to whisper in her ear the best advice you could give her, what would you say to her?
Man, I would tell her to speak up. I was a shy little child. I didn't really, my mom had to break that out of me. I would be quiet sometimes, or really sensitive. So to keep strong and keep going, and just follow your heart, which is something that I did at 6. Hoping I'm still here, so we're happy with it. But just tell her that it's all going to be okay. We're on the right path. I hope.
Amen. That's fabulous.
Yeah.
Mariah, thanks so much for taking the
Well,
time.
you have 2 big fans here. Joshua and I really wish you a lot of success, and we'll be rooting for you. And we plan on having you back. Don't forget us.
I will.
Yeah. And Mariah, of course, as we always do, stay online here when we end the show, and we'll talk a little bit of logistics, of course. So
yes,
thank you very much. And,
thank you. And thank you for all you're doing. You're going to change the world and make it a better place. And so we're really excited for you.
Thank you for having me on here. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank
Awesome.
you. Yeah, I know.
Wow, we're going to watch her.
Yes, she's a force to be reckoned with. And, she's the difference between her and everybody else is that she has goals. She's directed. She knows what her values are, what she's passionate about. And I think that she's been able to do step 1 and step 2, right?
She's one of those who knew what she wanted to do at a very young age, and she will continue in that path forever.
Yeah.
Unlike so many of us.
Right. Who weave and bob. She is like goal directed. I don't sense a rigidity in her, though. I think that she's open to the possibilities. She just kind of has the bigger picture mapped out for herself. So I just definitely love that about her. Yeah. So we'll be seeing more of her. Absolutely. And I don't know whether to get her on the mentor-mentee show or the mother-daughter show, because she could be either one. Right?
I'm interested in her mom. I want to hear from her mom. Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. Well, viewers and listeners, we hope that was valuable for you. We just, obviously we had a blast, and we always hope that you guys get a lot out of that and are inspired. And follow Mariah on LinkedIn and other social media platforms. and follow her work. If you're interested in working with her, of course, you can contact us and we can forward that on, vet that, and or reach out to her directly on different methods. So
and stay tuned for Dr. Liz Perpetua coming up on June 7th, and have a nice Memorial Day.
Yeah.
And we look forward to being back on June 7th.
Yay. Thanks, Janine.
Well, you know what? People can use this little break maybe to catch up on some of our older episodes if they haven't seen them. And we've got the podcast now, so you can listen and drive, which is what I usually do. So, I hope everyone rests and relax, and we'll see you back on June 7th.
Awesome. Thanks. Bye, everybody.